I want you to think back to the beginning when you were a child, to remember when the world was filled with wonder, when possibilities were endless. As we've grown, something has happened along the way. As adults, the world just doesn't seem as limitless anymore. In the beginning, we approached life full of awe, as if every person, place, and thing we discovered was magical and novel. But as we grow older and indulge in the mass market of perspectives and preconceived notions, our outlook starts to harden. Hardness turns to a sense of blindness, a blindness resulting from our boasting and overconfidence. On the one hand, we know we need to acquire more knowledge. Our dreams and aspirations as entrepreneurs require it, or else we would have no need for further accomplishment because we would have already accomplished everything we wanted to do. The problem is that we've been lied to. You see, we've always heard this expression, experience is our best teacher. But if you think about it, it's not. Never has been and never will be. Because if experience was our best teacher, then we would never, ever make the same mistake twice. So why do we make the same mistakes twice, 3 times, or more? The answer is simple. Because we think we know enough. And because we think we know enough, we never learn. The truth is, with experience, study, and practice, we've all attained a level of expertise in various areas of our business and life. And with that comes a level of confidence. But that level of confidence comes at a cost. The opportunity cost of a closed mind, a barrier of what we do not yet know and what we have not yet learned. As those of us who have tasted success in our business, it can be a very slippery slope to fall into this vulnerable closed mind notion. We've always done it like this. Why? Because it fits the narrative of our experience and knowledge thus far. And when we believe we already know something, we essentially create a blind spot. A blind spot to wisdom, a blind spot to abundance, a blind spot to growth. In other words, we close our mind. Well, how do we open it? How do we unwind our thoughts, dispel our preconceived notions, and break through this pride of overconfidence? We have to go back to the beginner's mind. And to do that, we have to understand that we will never be an expert. We are born a student, and we will die a student. As the old Zen saying goes, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. Enter the Japanese concept of Shoshin, which translates to the beginner's mind. The Shoshin mindset is the adoption of a paradox. The more you know about a subject, the more likely you are to close your mind to further learning. In other words, it is a mentality of readiness. A readiness to learn, to acquire knowledge by assuming you know nothing. It's approaching a subject, any subject, with the innocence of the first inquiry. What do I know? Nothing. Shoshin, the mind of the beginner, is empty. Free from the habits of the expert, ready to accept, to doubt, to open ourselves to all possibilities. And today on the podcast, I want to introduce you to this ancient posture of curiosity, to perhaps create a framework of readiness for the knowledge that you need to take you where you want to go. My name is Sasha, and this is Entrepreneur Insight. It is said that our capacity for learning is the currency we trade on in our life. And I think what invariably happens in the business of getting things done is that most people mistakenly believe that the ability to learn is a matter of experience. They believe that those who thrive in the realm of intelligentsia, the acquisition of wisdom and intelligence, is an immutable trait like having blue eyes. In other words, those that are successful entrepreneurs are just born smart, simply luck of the genetic job. And because of that, most people tend to approach the topic of learning without much focus. They don't think about it, plan for it, set aside time for study and analysis of their habits and their workflow. The truth is that learners are made. We are not born smart. We are students from birth. And I'll tell you straight up, I was a horrible student in school. I didn't want to learn. I got straight D's in high school, but I changed and I developed a hunger for knowledge, and with discipline and habits, I will continue to change and chase the man I see in the future, the man I want to be. Now, when we talk about Shoshin, we are not talking about forgetting everything you know. What we are talking about here is readiness, having an open mind. And readiness will always have a mental opposition. And anything that will prepare you for growth will have an enemy. I promise you that. Discrimination is a mental enemy. Judgment is an enemy. Preconception is an enemy. Pride is an enemy. In the beginner's mind, there is no room for self-centeredness. When we can actually empty our thoughts of self-achievement and approach a subject with the purity of a child, only then do we adopt the Shoshin mindset. Only then are we truly ready to learn. Where do we start then? How do we open our mind to a state of learning readiness? I'd like to share 3 disciplines that help me posture myself in a state of readiness when it comes to learning any subject. Ready? Here they are. Number 1, embrace intellectual humility. Number 2, resist confirmation bias. And number 3, experience awe and wonder. All right, let's dive into these a little bit. Number 1, embracing intellectual humility. Most of us fall into overestimating our understanding on various topics, whether it's how to market a product or how to manage a team. Intellectual humility is a mindset that involves recognizing and owning your own intellectual limitations. Now, it is one thing to have strong convictions that are virtuous. It is another to believe you have all the answers based on limited experience. You may have launched a successful product, but every product is different and not one strategy is the same. And when we talk about learning, intellectual humility gets you and your preconceived notions out of the way so that knowledge can be received. How do we then foster intellectual humility? Well, the first thing is to draw a clear line of distinction between your convictions, the principles that cannot be shaken or moved, and your ideas, subject-based beliefs, and your experiential learning, which can. The second is that you have to then understand and appreciate that everything outside of those convictions is most probably your cognitive blind spot. And the third is to be a listener. Catch yourself wanting to interject and hold off. Respect the opinions of others and give them their space to communicate. You don't have to agree, but Shoshin demands that you listen to every word. Number 2, resist confirmation bias. The confirmation bias is our innate underlying tendency to seek out information or only align with the content that supports our current views and beliefs. Confirmation bias affects everyone in some way, shape, or form, and in doing so, has the potential to create detrimental blockages to our ability to learn. Firstly, it influences what information we search for. We narrow the whole piece of pie of information for a minute slice. Confirmation bias also gives illegitimately more weight to information that supports our belief and less weight to information that could possibly contradict it. And as a result, the bias changes how we interpret that information, how it is recalled in the brain, and how we apply it. And so the only way to really resist it is to first become aware that it exists. Understanding confirmation bias and recognizing it as it emerges into your psyche gives the ability to kind of halt it, to stop it, and to reset our mind back to Shoshin so that we can ready ourselves for new inputs, new perspectives, and new insights. And the third discipline that I engage in is to intentionally experience awe and wonder. Yes, I said intentionally. Do you remember the sense of awe you had when you were a child? The wonder at how an ant could carry something 3 times its size? Or seeing the ocean for the first time and realizing how incredibly amazing it was? Our sense of wonder fades because we stop looking at things with a fresh mindset, a beginner's mindset. The ego, our ego, tells us what we already know. And so we then begin to form the notion that all of life and everything that makes it what it is just supposed to be there. How foolish. Well, that's just a tree. That's just the oxygen that I can't see. Everything is just the way it's supposed to be. It's such a closed way of viewing the world because the truth is that it's not. The dog you see walking, okay, we call it a dog. But have you ever stopped and thought, but what really is it? What is that? It's got 2 eyes, 2 ears, a nose, a mouth. It shits, it pisses. It procreates. When you call your dog's name, it responds. And for me, I have a mental habit that I engage in every morning to begin each day with the beginner's mindset. As a discipline to enter into Shoshin every morning, I walk my dog. And while walking, I will engage in box breathing exercises just to kind of empty myself. 5 seconds in, 5-second hold, 5 seconds out, 5-second hold. I empty my mind, and while doing so, marvel at the creation that surrounds me. I will literally forget that I know anything, and I will put myself in a mental frame to look at everything as if I'm looking at it for the first time. I know it sounds crazy, but it works for me. That tree, wow. What is that beautiful thing that God has created for me? I begin to pray and thank Jesus for his love, his mercy, for my family, for my day, for his creation, for my creation, and for what he wants me to learn today. And I ask that he would give me comprehension and that I would see things with an open mind. With God, I enter into Shoshin. In closing, by applying these principles, I have found the experience of learning to be invigorating, inspirational, and rejuvenating. Shoshin starts with self-awareness, being able to identify the pride of intelligence, the subtleties of confirmation bias, and the blindness of wonder that is right in front of you. See past the stories your past experiences tell you. Put your ego on the back burner. And when life throws you a lemon, perhaps instead of the common solution of simply making lemonade, you might find yourself asking, well, what is a lemon? Thanks for listening. And I hope to see you next week on Entrepreneur Insight. Bye for now.